Spock, where do you think we should start looking for this? Brassica?
Logic suggests that they will present us with opportunities to come to them.
Captain, a message from Starfleet.
On screen.
Captain, the USS Regulus has been forced to cancel its survey mission to the Antares Rift. We've decided to redirect the Enterprise to that mission. The USS Hood will take over for your current assignment.
Of course, the Antares Rift has a rather dangerous reputation.
Nothing the Enterprise can't handle. But be careful. Starfleet out.
Oh dear. Let's see what Regulus is all about. No? Nothing? Okay.
Antares Rift, an area of unstable space near the star Antares. Little is known of its properties. There have been numerous disappearances in this area.
Sounds fun. Okay. Well, this is a good start. I guess we should probably head there. Ooh.
The Antares Rift. It should be a most interesting assignment.
How so, Spock?
There have been several attempts to chart it. All expeditions into the Rift vanished, without a trace.
But those expeditions were years ago. Our starships are far more capable than they were during the time of those attempts.
Captain, a 10-year-old child is far more capable than a 3-year-old child. But there are many problems that neither child can solve.
Nice analogy.
Captain's log, stardate 6257.6. We have entered the Antares Rift. We found spatial disruptions in the rift that make using warp engines extremely dangerous. Repairs are almost complete on the minor damage we suffered upon entry into the rift. We are continuing our survey using impulse engines.
My poor babies. Warp engines were meant to be used, Captain.
Communications are back online, Captain.
Deflectors at 93% power and increasing.
Captain, undoubtedly that phenomenon would explain many of the strange disappearances in this sector. Still, with our warp engines deactivated, our computers indicate we will be safe.
Communications are out again, Captain. Is anyone hurt?
If he was human, Mr. Spock's pride might be...
Captain, sensors failed to indicate anything unusual prior to the explosion. I would speculate that it was caused by an extremely unusual rift in the space-time continuum, a place where radically different physical laws apply.
And since it was different space-time, our sensors weren't programmed to detect it.
And it could happen again at any time without warning.
Okay, this is a very different start.
The damage readout for the Enterprise has gone crazy. There are obviously problems with the ship's damage registers. This door leads to the turbo lift. The damage readout for the Enterprise has gone crazy. There are obviously problems with the ship's damage registers. Ensign Walker came to the bridge to discuss discrepancies in the last damage control report. He now wishes he was elsewhere. Mr. Scott wonders how he'll look like a miracle worker this time. Mr. Sulu has complete faith in his captain, who has gotten them out of worse predicaments than this. James Kirk worries about the safety of his ship. Mr. Chekhov sometimes wishes he had a safer occupation, like handling antimatter. This is the second time that hailing frequencies have gone down today. Lieutenant Uhura is not having a good day. Mr. Spock is trying to determine a way to detect the rifts before the Enterprise is destroyed.
And the only person we're missing here at the moment is McCoy.
Ship's short-range sensor display for the science station. Now all it is displaying is static.
We need to make communicating with the rest of the ship our first priority. Scotty, what's our status?
Very bad, Captain. Whatever hit the Enterprise hit us right in our own neighborhood. The hull is breached 6 meters from the bridge. Beyond that, The instruments are useless. I can't read or send anything through these controls. We'll need a starbase to make this bridge functional again.
Scotty, how about auxiliary control?
Captain, I cannot determine the status of anything beyond the place where the rupture occurred. The rest of the ship could be dead as far as we know.
Ideas, Mr. Walker?
I'm a security guard, sir, not an idea man. Still, if we could send out probes to detect these rifts, we might get a better idea on whether they're moving or not, and whether we should stop and make repairs, or keep moving.
Status, Mr. Sulu.
Helm is not responding, Captain. The controls are completely dead.
Status, Mr. Chekhov.
Captain, navigation is not responding. The circuits are as lifeless as a Stalinist.
Any ideas, Lieutenant?
I was barely able to reroute the necessary connections last time, Captain. Communications are completely useless now. We may be able to enter codes into the library computer and instruct others to send messages to us.
Captain, I believe I may be able to adjust the sensors to detect these spatial rifts and pilot the Enterprise to avoid them. However, the sensors are too heavily damaged here. I will need to get to auxiliary control as soon as possible if I am to reroute the necessary systems.
Mr. Spock, the bulkheads were breached just outside of the bridge. No one's going to be able to leave the bridge for at least an hour unless they're transported out.
Captain, the library computer is online. Apparently, its circuits were shielded from the explosion. Captain, I have managed to program a message into the library computer. The first time a person accesses the computer, they will read our distress signal. Hopefully, they can code a reply into the computer, which we can access.
Okay, let's try that again.
Captain, the transporters are operational. I request permission to be transported, so I can begin the adjustments to sensors as soon as possible.
Go ahead, Spock. No, Spock, I'll go first. Go ahead, Spock.
Yeah, Spock is probably the better option.
Spock!
Oh. Oh dear. Although that alien did look quite familiar. Not in this game.
Mr. Scott wonders how he'll look like a miracle worker this time.
Oh, whoops.
Captain, this bridge is useless. For our own sake as well as Spock's, we have to find a way to get out of here.
Captain, that thing with the 4 arms wasn't Mr. Spock, was it? That beam wasn't some sort of transmutation beam, was it?
I don't think so, Mr. Walker. But the two have to be connected.
The controls are still not functioning, Captain.
Spock, what happened to him?
Captain, what was that thing?
I don't know, Mr. Chekhov, but I intend to find out.
Captain, we need to get off the bridge. I recommend we keep monitoring the science station and see if anyone answers our messages.
At least Uhura is making some sense.
I can take care of that, Captain. I'm patching your log into the computer. You should have voice messages.
Captain, we've managed to jury-rig an evacuation tube through the bridge turbo lift. We should be able to keep it stable long enough for you to be evacuated.
Okay. Let's hope this works. Well, I hope it does now. Okay, so where do we go now? This looks very familiar to the 25th anniversary. Yeah, auxiliary control is definitely the best option right now. But we have our options. Yeah, this looks like exactly the same map as the 25th anniversary, apart from all the red colouring.
Captain's log. After equipping ourselves with tricorders and phasers, we are now searching for a way to find Spock and return him to us. I've determined that the best place to start
took the warp engines offline.
How bad is it, Scotty?
That explosion was 42% stronger than the one that struck near the bridge. Our left warp nacelle is crippled, Captain.
I hope it's not a trend. Keep me posted, Mr. Scott. Kirk out.
Ah, we have our very first red shirts from our own crew.
Angus Walker wonders how they're going to remove the aliens this time. James Kirk wonders about his friend Spock's safety. Hikaru Sulu has seen more than one attempt by aliens to take control of the ship, and they've always failed. Pavel Chekhov is a little nervous right now.
And it's nice that Sulu and Chekhov are getting some more action in this game as well.
Well, they say the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
What does that mean, Sulu? That we should have been more vigilant? How could we, if the sensor said nothing?
Well, maybe if Starfleet sensor designers would be quicker to modify their sensors to react to new phenomena.
You two are as bad as Spock and McCoy. I could use advice. Suggestions, anyone? Spock.
I know, Captain. We miss him too.
Awaiting orders, Captain.
I'd feel more comfortable, Captain, if we knew what happened to Mr. Spock.
I see that even in the 1990s, they're giving Chekhov some very stereotypical accenting. Is that the words?
This screen shows the layout on this deck. The door directly ahead of you leads to the auxiliary control. The doorway to auxiliary control.
The way into auxiliary control is open, Captain.
The doorway to the turbolift. Turbolift monitor. It says that the turbolift is on the auxiliary control deck.
Our highest priority is control of the sensors. We must find Spock.
I'll handle it, Captain. Remember, I was a physicist when I first joined the Enterprise.
Ah! Captain, look! Captain, I'm getting a sensor reading on the alien. I'm sure Dr. McCoy will find this data interesting. Captain, what happened?
It appears our alien friend likes its privacy.
The Cossacks have locked the door, Captain.
Oh. That's very unsporting.
Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scotty. Kirk to Uhura. Come in, Lieutenant. Kirk to sick bay. Bones, where are you? Computer. Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scotty.
Captain, I've got bad news for you. This rift is affecting the hull of the ship. Our hull integrity is dropping fast.
How bad is it, Scotty?
It's at 92% and dropping rapidly. According to our system specs, if it drops below 63%...
Put as much powers as you can to the shields. Use them to support our hull integrity. Divert as much power as you can to the sensors. Let's find out what's causing this.
Maybe not.
Evacuate all people from the outer decks. Divert power from life support on those decks evenly to shields and sensors. Put as much powers as you can to the shields. Use them to support our hull integrity.
Yeah, it's probably best not to panic just yet.
That will probably only buy us a few minutes, Captain.
Do it, Scotty. Every minute counts. Kirk out. Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scott. Kirk to Uhura. Come in, Lieutenant.
Captain, I've moved operations to Galileo 2 shuttlecraft. I've sent a message to Starfleet Command, and I've rerouted internal communications to run from here.
Lieutenant Uhura, what happens if the shuttle bay is hit by an explosion? That's one of the most vulnerable areas on the ship.
That's a risk I'm prepared to take, Mr. Sulu. I've activated the shuttle's shields for protection.
Good. Be prepared to evacuate the shuttle on my signal. Kirk out. Kirk to Scott. Kirk to sick bay. Bones, where are you?
Jim, what the devil are you doing to this ship?
I'm not the one doing it. Spock's gone, Bones. Someone took him from the ship. Some aliens that I've never seen before.
If you can get me a medical scan, I might be able to find some way to combat them. Make that a priority. McCoy out.
Is it my imagination, or is Dr. McCoy getting a little power crazy lately?
I'd say a lot power crazed, Hikaru.
Well, we can't do much more here. Let's go and check up on Bones.
Ensign Angus Walker. Ensign Pavel Chekhov. Captain James T. Kirk, Lieutenant Hikaru Sulu.
Well, thank you for that.
This passage leads back to the turbolift.
Back? I thought we came from this way.
The floor of the corridor outside the Enterprise's sickbay. This is the doorway to sickbay. The sickbay status indicator shows that everything is normal. A ship's communications panel.
Sickbay. I hate sickbay. Why do we have to come here?
Because the game says we have to.
Well, Sulu, when the Enterprise is in trouble, who do they turn to save the day?
And guess who doesn't get the glory?
Or the credit?
Yes, let's not forget the credit.
Stop complaining, gentlemen. And I thought McCoy was a major league grouser. Am I mistaken? Or do I get the impression the intruder could do a lot of physical damage if it wanted?
It doesn't need to. The Antares rift is doing all the physical damage that is necessary.
Don't worry, Captain. If we can't get Spock back, I wouldn't be surprised if he got himself out of this mess.
I'd like to think so, but I fear there are limits even to Spock's abilities.
Well, Jim, I leave you alone for 5 minutes and look at the mess you've made.
Dr. McCoy, who never understood why people get so nervous in sickbay. It's the safest part of the ship. James Kirk, captain of the Enterprise, who never really liked sickbay. Hikaru Sulu, doing his best to remain calm in a difficult situation. Pavel Chekhov, who still has nightmares about the time in sickbay when they conducted close to 50 tests on him, when the others in his landing party were hit by advanced aging and he wasn't. Angus Walker, who remembers being in a hospital when he was a child on Earth. Assorted medicines are stacked on shelves behind an enclosure. Assorted medicines are stacked on shelves behind an enclosure. This equipment allows Dr. McCoy to quickly synthesize chemicals and save his patients' lives. Medical instruments line the wall of sickbay. This bed is currently unoccupied. This device monitors a patient's condition. It is currently inactive.
Okay.
Here's the sensor scan, Bones.
Jim, this says our invaders are Vaurians.
Vaurians? But they're extinct. They died out at the time that Cochrane invented the warp drive. They were slaughtered in the Three Systems War.
Jim, I know my history, but I also know my anatomy. The alien in auxiliary control is a Vaurian. There's only one strange thing.
What's that?
This creature isn't capable of doing some of the things that you described. It's an ordinary Vaurian. No special organs, no unusual brain patterns, nothing that traditionally suggests superhuman feats.
Can you neutralize it, Bones?
Actually, it's a female. And yes, I know of something that can incapacitate it without harming it. A gas mixture. You'll have to pump large quantities into auxiliary control for it to be effective, but it should work almost immediately. Here's the gas, Jim. Be careful with it. There hasn't been a Vaurian in 150 years.
If we keep having these random explosions, Doctor, I'm afraid your sickbay is going to be overflowing.
I thought you were a helmsman, not the bearer of bad tidings.
I do many things well, Doctor.
Well, Jim, when are you going to bring out the rabbit?
The what?
The rabbit you're always pulling out of your hat whenever things get really grim.
I'm afraid I may have used my last rabbit, Bones. Well, Bones, it looks like we have to save Spock in order to save the Enterprise.
That's a tough choice, Jim.
Hello, Doctor. Nice weather, isn't it?
You're a navigator, not a conversationalist, Ensign.
Yes, I am. And an unappreciated navigator at that.
Don't worry, Doctor. I'm all right. You don't need to treat me.
Then why are you here?
I'm just with the captain. I'm feeling great. You don't have to.
That's fine, Lieutenant.
A variety of neutral toxin, Captain.
The tricorder indicates this is a neural toxin engineered to affect Vaurians. Its effect on humans, aside from its smell, should be minimal.
At least in the short term.
Okay. Time to do a little bit of research. Hopefully we will be a bit more fruitful this time.
Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scotty. Kirk to Scott. Computer.
Vurians, a race native to Vega 3 with minor psionic talents. They were exterminated by the Antoshi in the Three Systems War.
I wonder. Okay. I thought the capitalization might have been part of it, but obviously not. Oh, okay. We're doing very well.
Three Systems War, a war in the early 22nd century between the Antoshi and the Vurians, in which the Vurians were exterminated.
Okay. Let's head out and back to the turbo lift. Or should I say head to this turbo lift?
Captain, there has been an explosion near the shuttle bay. I'm fine. There has been no significant damage.
Any luck communicating with Starfleet Command?
I have made contact with the light cruiser USS Jefferson, sir. It will reach the edge of Antares Rift in 16 hours. The rift is playing havoc with communications.
Thank you, Lieutenant Kirk out.
This is the doorway to main engineering. Hikaru Sulu, full of faith and determination. Pavel Chekhov, doing his best to be optimistic in a difficult situation. Jim Kirk, as usual bearing all the burdens of his vessel. Angus Walker, going where no security guard has gone before. This doorway leads to the turbo lift. This panel gives emergency access to engineering for authorized personnel. Since access to engineering has not been shut down, this panel is not active.
There's an awful lot of corridors on the Enterprise.
Captain, if we get out of this alive, can we have shore leave?
Well, you hear what Mr. Scott said about us needing to go to a starbase.
Actually, Captain, I had something a bit larger in mind.
Chekhov lives for shore leave.
I do not. Well, maybe a little bit.
This is not one of my better days.
Captain, do you think we'll get out of this alive?
I really don't know.
That doesn't give me much confidence. Really, Captain, do you think we'll get out of this alive?
Are you trying to suggest we won't? Will I have to put you on report for threatening morale?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, wow, okay.
Kirk to Scott. Come in, Scotty.
Captain, the hull degradation is continuing. It's currently below 92%, but at the rate it's dropping, we have less than an hour before the ship is destroyed.
Hopefully I'll get this done before the hour is over.
Kirk to Scott. Kirk to Uhura.
Captain, the rift is providing subspace interference. It's rather unusual. It's as though the interference were coming from subspace itself. I've never seen anything quite like it.
If Mr. Spock were here, he'd probably find it fascinating. Keep trying to break through and report anything else that's unusual to me. Kirk out.
Oh, here he is.
Mr. Scott is wondering how Kirk's adventures are going to affect his poor engines this time. James Kirk, Captain of the Enterprise, Professional Crisis Manager. Hikaru Sulu, capable helmsman of the Enterprise, expert physicist, and a natural leader. Certainly he's destined to become a Starfleet captain. Pavel Chekhov, a young and somewhat impetuous navigator, likely to mature into a seasoned officer. Angus Walker, an experienced security officer who's seen many strange things on the Enterprise. His memoirs will be very interesting. Life Support Control Systems. This monitors and controls the ship's life support. Impulse Engine Fuel Control Systems. This system monitors fuel usage in the impulse engines. Deflector Control Grid. This system prevents the Enterprise from being pulverized at near light speed by micrometeorites. The impulse engines of the USS Enterprise. Looking at them reminds you of several times they threatened to break down. Now the engines are running fine. It's the other sections of the Enterprise that are breaking down.
Captain, is it too late to put in a request for an early retirement?
Scotty, if we hit any more of these random detonations, it'll be mandatory retirement for all of us.
Actually, Captain, I was hoping for a better pension.
Well, here we are. The ship is literally falling apart. Space could explode randomly at any moment and destroy the Enterprise, and Spock has been kidnapped by the aliens.
Aye, a typical day on the Enterprise.
You know, it just wouldn't be the Enterprise without a crisis.
Sometimes I wish space were a little more predictable than it is. Captain, surely you must have a plan.
Of course I do. I just need to find out what it is, that's all.
Oh, that's very reassuring, Captain.
Mr. Scott looks a bit more frazzled than usual, Captain.
Well, what do you expect, man? I'm not a miracle worker. There's only so much a person can do.
I wonder.
This device stores special chemicals that are pumped into the ship's atmosphere when needed and is operated by the life support system.
Ah, that's good to know.
I wish Dr. McCoy had given me the specs on that gas injection system. It looks like a rather clumsy fit.
I'll do it, Scotty.
You'd think that Dr. McCoy would have some respect for engineering.
Let's see how our alien friend likes Dr. McCoy's medicine.
Probably as much as we do, Hikaru.
Mr. Kyle, can you transport me to auxiliary control?
Aye, sir. But I have to remind you how dangerous intership transporting can be. We've really been pushing our luck today.
I'm aware of that, Mr. Kyle, but we have to take the risk.
Look, something's happening.
Oh. That didn't quite work out as planned.
Mr. Sulu is beginning to worry. James Kirk bears a look of steely determination. Chekhov is very nervous right now. Walker wonders how they're going to remove the aliens this time. This station is identical to the bridge's engineering control, allowing access to damage control systems and emergency power and internal sensors. This station is identical to the bridge's science station, allowing access to external sensors and the library computer. The dilithium crystal lattice monitor. Dilithium crystals are at 89% efficiency. This is below the optimum range, but still acceptable. This is the auxiliary control view screen.
Auxiliary control is looking very different compared to the first game.
A warp impulse energy efficiency diagram. The diagram shows that the warp engines are not currently active.
I recommend we use the auxiliary control sensor to see where the alien went.
We have to find out where that alien went. It's the only way to save Spock.
I was hoping the alien would have been more communicative. Why hijack a ship that's already about to be destroyed, then kidnap a single individual, and then say nothing about why you are aboard?
It certainly seemed to have the power to destroy us. Why didn't it just kill us?
I don't know, gentlemen, but we'll find the answer soon, I promise.
You know, this mission has killed any ambitions I might have had about commanding a starship.
That's odd. All systems look normal. The aliens haven't touched the helm. Everything seems to be working. Library computer, external sensors. Mr. Sulu, see if you can find where the Vurian went. Maybe that will lead us to Spock.
Captain, I'm detecting the Vurian. She seems to have vanished through a rift in space. I have the coordinates of her last known location.
Oh. Well, let's continue exploring the ship.
Mr. Kyle, you have the coordinates where the alien teleported?
Captain, you're asking me to transport you into another dimension. I may not be able to lock onto you there.
I'm aware of the risk, Mr. Kyle. You have your orders.
Aye, sir.
Energize.